In this speech, I will be giving you facts and opinions of why being able to defend yourself is so important. I will start off by giving you a little bit of history, which these laws derive from, and then I will talk about the two laws which are in place today. These two laws are the Castle Doctrine laws and the Stand Your Ground laws. To briefly explain, the Castle Doctrine strengthens the right to defend, to self-defense by eliminating the duty to retreat from a threat in one's home or on one's property. Stand Your Ground extends on the Castle Doctrine to any place where a person has a right to be, such as one's car, workplace, or public sidewalk. After I discuss these more in depth, I will then talk about the Second Amendment and the National Rifle Association. Which the National Rifle Association is an organization which has pushed these two laws, and as of today, 24 states have stated at least one of these laws. To start off why self-defense is so important, a great example from Charles Cook from Self-Defense in the Second Amendment, which was published on December 31st, 2015, and one that I totally agree with, is let's say a 5'5", 110-pound female is in a certain sense armed if she has a kitchen knife or a baseball bat at her disposal. But say a 6'4", 250-pound male who has broken into her home has one too. She is not likely to overwhelm him. If that same woman had 9mm firearm, well then there would be a good chance for her to walk away without being armed. From the perspective of our petite women, there is really no way for the state to endorse her right to defend herself if it deprives her the right to the tools to do the job. And now to the history of where these two laws originated. I believe self-defense is a natural born right and shall not be infringed on by the government. According to Tamara Thompson from Self-Defense Laws, which was published in 2014, back in the 6th century Roman laws, they read, "We grant to all persons the unrestricted power to defend themselves, so that it is proper to subject anyone. Immediate punishment is in accordance with the authority granted to all. Let him suffer the death which he threatened, and incur that which he intended." And Charles Cook from Self-Defense and the Second Amendment added that in the 6th century, the same emperor from the previous statement compiled a digest of the Roman laws, which cataloged the laws that have developed over the centuries of Roman jurisprudence, among which had a rule of thumb: that which someone does for the safety of his body, let it be regarded as being done legally. Now some more background about the Castle Doctrine laws. Like I stated before, this law strengthens the right to self-defense by eliminating the duty to retreat from a threat in one's home or on one's property. William Watkins from Storming the Castle Doctrine on July 18th, 2012 stated, "The Castle Doctrine recognizes that when in the home, one has, in a sense, retreat as far as possible. Requiring further retreat, such as fleeing from the kitchen where the hypothetical bandit has entered from, to the sleeping quarters makes little sense. A man's home is his castle, as the adage goes, and required retreat degrades the sanctity of the home and encourages felonious conduct." The next law is Stand Your Ground, which has been a controversial law ever since it was instated, but especially after the 2012 case in Sanford, Florida, after the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. It extends on the Castle Doctrine to any place where a person has a right to be, such as one's car, workplace, or public sidewalk. David Kopel from Stand Your Ground Laws will Stand Your Ground Laws Will Protect Crime Victims published an article on May 15, 2005, explaining that explaining that to put this law into perspective, a person may use deadly force against someone who unlawfully or forcefully enters a person's home or vehicle. A victim may use deadly force against a criminal who attempts to force a person out of their home or vehicle. Thus, if someone kicks down your front door in the middle of the night or attempts to carjack you, you can use a firearm or other deadly force to protect yourself. You do not have to worry about a prosecutor that might second guess your decision and claim that you should have used lesser force against the violent intruder. Next, we'll talk about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Larry Craig is a Republican senator from Idaho and a board member of the National Rifle Association, and his viewpoint was published in the Second Amendment protects the inalienable right to self-defense. On June 6, 2000, these remarks were on the floor of the Senate during a debate on gun control legislation. Craig argued that such legislation must not be infringed on citizens' right to defend themselves with a firearm. He claimed that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to self-defense, and he further asserts that under the Constitution, Congress has no power to abolish or infringe upon that right. Then Craig began to list examples of how guns are used in self-defense, which he believed gun control advocates tend to ignore. And now some insight on the National Rifle Association. Published in 2001, the National Rifle Association, by the National Rifle Association and the National Rifle Association of America, they stated that they were originally established in 1871 to provide firearms training and encourage interest in the shooting sports. Over the last 100 years, the NRA continues that mission, and they quote, "What members share with every other member is appreciation of the shooting sports and most of all, commitment to safety, responsibility, and freedom." Also integrated in the NRA mission is the belief in the constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Specifically, the NRA maintains there should be no limits placed on the Second Amendment to the Constitution. And in conclusion, you now have some understanding and background of why self-defense is so important and why the NRA was built to defend citizens' right to bear arms. The Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground laws are extremely important to protect oneself and one's family from people who wish to do them harm. Whatever your stand is with the Second Amendment, I hope I have given you some information to at least understand the opposing viewpoint. And I would like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I really greatly appreciate it.